30 years ago, Dubai was nothing but a small town in the desert. Sand dunes, heat, emptiness. No one on earth, not a single architect, not a single investor, not a single urban planner, looked at that stretch of Arabian desert and said this will become one of the most recognizable skylines on the planet. And yet it happened. Now thousands of kilometers away, in a different desert, in a country the Western world has written off as too poor, too unstable, and too dangerous to ever build anything that matters, something is rising from the ground. From certain angles, you might mistake it for another Burj Khalifa. This is the Burkindi Business Center, a 35-story glass skyscraper punching through the dusty haze of Ouagadougou, surrounded by 14 additional towers, in a capital city that until recently could barely pave its own streets. The famous press outlet Jeune Afrique is already calling it the Manhattan of Ouagadougou, and it is being built without a single IMF loan, without a single World Bank condition, by a Burkinabè company. For Burkinabè people, welcome. This is Arizin Now. To understand why a skyscraper in Ouagadougou is so historically significant, you need to understand what this city looked like just a few years ago. Burkina Faso spent over 60 years in an arrangement that its colonial masters designed to extract, not develop. France controlled the CFA franc, the currency used across 14 West African nations. The deal was brutally simple. Burkina Faso provided gold and cotton. France and Europe took the profits. And in return, Burkina Faso might receive a fraction back, just enough to patch a few holes in the road. The proof of this mindset came in 2017, when French President Emmanuel Macron visited Ouagadougou. A student stood up and dared to ask, "Why does our university have no electricity?" Macron's response was breathtaking in its arrogance. He told the student it was not France's job to fix their light bulbs. That was the job of their president. He even joked that the Burkinabè president had left the room to go fix the air conditioning. That moment burned across the entire African continent. It confirmed what millions already knew. France was not there to help. France was there to take. And the evidence was everywhere. From independence in 1960 until 2015, Burkina Faso had built barely 3,000 kilometers of paved roads. 60 years of so-called partnership, 3,000 kilometers. The capital, Ouagadougou, was a city of flat, low-rise structures, crumbling colonial-era government buildings, and potholed streets that turned to rivers of mud every rainy season. There were no skyscrapers, no modern commercial towers, no world-class hotels, because the system was not designed to build those things here. It was designed to build them in Paris and London and Brussels, using wealth extracted from Burkinabè soil. Then September 30th, 2022 arrived, and everything changed. One gunshot. One young captain in a red beret, Ibrahim Traoré, took power with a clarity of vision that shocked even his supporters. He did not arrive with plans drafted by foreign consultants. He arrived with a devastating question. Why does our gold leave this country but our city looks like it has been abandoned? His first moves terrified Western capitals. He expelled the French military forces that had been stationed in Burkina Faso for decades. He nationalized the gold mines, redirecting revenues from foreign shareholders back into the Burkinabè state budget. He canceled the dependency contracts that had kept the country in a permanent state of managed poverty. And then he launched Faso Mayabbo. In the local Moray language, it means build the fatherland. Launched in October 2024, the philosophy is radical in its simplicity. Use our own resources. Use our own labor. Build our own nation. No foreign aid, no IMF conditions, no World Bank structural adjustments. Just Burkinabè hands, Burkinabè materials, and Burkinabè ambition. And once the colonial masters were gone, and the gold revenues started flowing back into the national treasury, the real building began. What happened next is something that nobody predicted. Stand at the edge of the Burkindi Business Center construction site in Ouagadougou's Ouaga 2000 district today, and look up. What you see should not be possible. Not here. Not yet. Not according to every development model the world has used to understand this country. But there it is. The Burkindi Tower. 35 stories of glass and steel rising from the Sahelian dust. When completed, it will be one of the tallest structures in all of Francophone West Africa. But the tower is only the flagship of something far larger. The Burkina Business Center covers 4.6 hectares in one of the capital's most strategic districts. Surrounding the main tower are 14 additional buildings, each rising 15 stories high. 15 skyscrapers, clustered together, forming what the developers at Castor Africa Group are calling the region's golden triangle of business. The scale inside is even more striking. The complex includes around 2,000 modular office spaces specifically designed to consolidate government ministries under one roof. For decades, Burkina Faso's government has been hemorrhaging money renting dilapidated colonial-era villas across the capital for its various ministries. The Burkina complex ends that era entirely. Beyond the offices, the project delivers 700 luxury apartments, a 3-level ultra-modern shopping mall, health facilities, high-tech conference halls designed to host the entire alliance of Sahel states, and a dedicated mini power plant to keep the complex energy independent around the clock. The total price tag, 320 billion CFA francs, that is over $500 million US, poured into concrete and steel in a country that global media tells you every day is on the verge of collapse. And here's what makes this even more extraordinary. The developer behind this project is not a French company, not a Chinese state enterprise, not an American real estate conglomerate. It is Castor Africa Group, a Burkinabè company with a strong regional presence in Côte d'Ivoire. Burkinabè developer, Burkinabè project, Burkinabè paychecks flowing to Burkinabè engineers, workers and crew from the foundation to the roof. The name Burkindi itself tells you everything you need to know about the intention behind it. In Moray, Burkindi means integrity, uprightness. This building is a physical declaration. You can have wealth and modernity without surrendering your sovereignty. But what happened next shocked even the most optimistic observers. Just a few hundred meters from the Burkindi Tower, the state itself is making an equally dramatic move. Zafara Plaza. This is not a government office building in the way you are imagining. State agency Sonator is developing a mixed-use complex that looks more like a 5-star resort than a bureaucratic headquarters. A central 20-story tower designed to house a luxury hotel and top-tier administrative offices, flanked by 5 additional 7-story buildings. Zafara Plaza sits on 1.3 hectares in the historic heart of Ouagadougou 2000 and is a masterclass in vertical urban densification. Instead of sprawling outward into the desert, Burkina Faso is building upward, maximizing every square meter of the capital's most valuable land. The ecosystem inside is complete. High-end apartments, luxury suites, retail spaces, restaurants, conference facilities, commercial hubs. The project is being executed by Reliance West Africa under a public-private partnership with a strict 36-month deadline. When you stand back and look at both the Burkindi Tower and Zafara Plaza rising simultaneously from the same district of Ouagadougou, you realize you are watching a skyline being born in real time. A city that had no skyscrapers 18 months ago is now building 2 of the most ambitious commercial towers in West Africa simultaneously, and both of them are owned by Burkinabè entities. That word "owned" carries more weight here than anywhere else, because for 60 years, anything valuable in Burkina Faso was owned by someone else. The mines, the currency, the trade routes, the processing facilities, all owned elsewhere, all generating wealth that left the country. Now the towers are owned here, and they will generate wealth that stays here. But here is the question that matters most. Are these towers just for the wealthy? Is this just another example of elite construction projects that look impressive from a drone but do nothing for ordinary Burkinabè families? 3 kilometers off National Road toward Lumbila, the dusty horizon gives way to an answer. This is Esquire City, the city of hope, a satellite city built specifically for the backbone of the nation. The teachers, the soldiers, the nurses, the diaspora returning home. Also developed by Castor Africa Group, Esquire City is the living proof that the transformation in Ouagadougou is not an elite project. Right now, around 2,000 housing units are already rising from the ground. The blueprints included from day one paved roads, advanced drainage systems, and independent solar power plants designed to keep electricity running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They designated land for a future university, built a preschool for young families, established a modern health center so basic medical care no longer requires an entire day of travel. And the pricing puts this within reach of real people. A standard F3 apartment starts at approximately 12 million CFA, roughly $20,000. A luxury duplex is around 80 million CFA, approximately $132,000. For context, in most Western cities, $20,000 buys you nothing. Here it buys you a fully engineered apartment in a planned smart city with solar power, paved roads, a school, and a health center. Turkish and German engineering expertise combined with Burkinabè vision are shaping what commentators are calling the new Burkinabè dream. And Esquire City is not alone. Beyond Esquire City, the government has launched a nationwide housing initiative targeting 50,000 units, 50,000 homes, to be delivered by 2025. More than 12,000 of those units had already reached advanced stages of construction. These developments are rolling out across 61 localities, not just the capital, but Bobo Dioulasso, Ouagadougou, and dozens of regional centers. And unlike older housing programs that quietly served civil servants and middle-income residents while the poor waited, this wave of construction explicitly focuses on low-income households, displaced families, and the homeless. Entire neighborhoods being built with roads, utilities, and public services integrated from the first day of planning, not bolted on as an afterthought years later. For many rural Burkinabè families, everyday life still happens inside fragile traditional structures. Homes of mud and thatch that leave families exposed to the heat. What the government is building is not just shelter, it is a new standard of life. And it is being built with the same urgency that Traoré brings to every other front of this national transformation. Wartime pace, peacetime purpose. The urban revolution does not stop at housing and office towers. In Bobo Dioulasso, Burkina Faso's second largest city, a 15,000-seat covered stadium is being assembled right now. Note that word, assembled. Rather than traditional slow brick-by-brick construction, this project uses advanced prefabricated aluminum and steel systems developed in partnership with Turkey's Integral Group. A Burkinabè delegation traveled to Turkey themselves to inspect the production lines, verify the materials, and confirm that the synthetic turf meets FIFA standards. The stadium is expected to be complete by because the Étalons, Burkina Faso's national football team, will no longer play their home matches in someone else's country. In the southwest, the University Hospital Center of Gawa is rising rapidly, already past the 54% execution mark and targeting completion by 2026, with a capacity of 300 beds. This is not simply a hospital project. It is a direct expression of Traoré's core philosophy. Sovereignty is meaningless if a nation cannot care for its own sick. For generations, serious medical cases from Burkina Faso traveled abroad, to France, to Côte d'Ivoire, to Senegal, for treatment that should have been available at home. That era is ending. And deep inside the commercial districts of the capital, a quieter but equally significant transformation is taking shape. Buildings that look like standard office blocks are becoming something more strategic. Fintech innovators, young software developers, cybersecurity engineers, drone technology startups, all of them clustering into a digital ecosystem that is building the infrastructure for Burkina Faso's economic independence in the 21st century. Payment systems, locally driven platforms, digital sovereignty. The towers are not just glass and concrete. They are the physical container for a digital future that nobody thought Burkina Faso was ready to build. Here is what separates all of this from every other grand infrastructure promise Africa has heard before. It is the people. When Traoré launched Faso Mayabbo, something happened that no government consultant predicted. The nation responded personally. An 80-year-old grandmother heard about the construction initiative on television and refused to be a spectator. She did not send money. She did not send her son. She came herself, with 2 bags of cement purchased from her own life savings, loaded into a car, delivered to the construction site by her own hands. She said, "I liked the initiative. That is why I made my contribution. I am really happy to be here." She is not alone. Mothers arrived with 30 bags of cement. Students showed up on school breaks to lay asphalt. Children on vacation molded pavement bricks with joy on their faces. Soldiers offloaded construction materials, alongside civilian volunteers. The president himself is not above this. The same Traoré who designed the Burkindi Tower is also the man who shows up in tomato fields to inspect harvests in person, who operates road machinery himself in public, who walks construction sites in military fatigues and puts his hands on the work. This national psychology, the belief that nobody is coming to save you, that the sidewalk outside your home is your responsibility too, is the hidden engine behind everything you are seeing. A grandmother with 2 bags of cement, a skyscraper punching through the Sahelian sky. They are the same story. Stand back and look at what has just been built in this country in less than 3 years. A 35-story glass tower rising in a capital that's 60 years of colonial partnership left with barely 3,000 kilometers of paved roads. 14 additional skyscrapers surrounding it. A luxury hotel complex being built by the state itself. A satellite city of 2,000 homes with solar power, schools, and hospitals built in. 50,000 housing units targeting the poor, the displaced, and the homeless across 61 localities nationwide. A 15,000-seat FIFA-standard stadium assembled in partnership with Turkish engineers. A university hospital past 54% completion. A growing digital ecosystem of fintech, cybersecurity, and software development building Burkina Faso's economic infrastructure for the next century. All of it built by Burkinabè companies, Burkinabè workers, Burkinabè engineers. All of it funded by nationalized gold revenue redirected from European shareholders back to the Burkinabè people. None of it dependent on a single IMF loan, a single World Bank condition, a single foreign contractor taking the majority of the contract value back to Paris. When Macron told that student in 2017 that it was not France's job to fix their light bulbs, he was right about one thing. It was never France's job, it was always theirs, and they are doing it. 30 years ago, nobody imagined Dubai would look the way it does today. Today, nobody expected Ouagadougou to look the way it is beginning to look. But the cranes are real, the towers are real, the grandmother with 2 bags of cement is real, and the blueprint they are writing, one skyscraper and one home and one street at a time, is one that the entire African continent is watching with the closest possible attention. This is no longer a third world city building its first tower. This is a sovereign nation building its future, on its own terms, with its own hands, for its own people. This is Artisan Now.